Forever. Dog.
Hello, and welcome to Outgrown, where we have people on to discuss something from popular culture that they used to profoundly identify with and once thought would define them forever, but then eventually outgrew. Hi, Tom Scharpling.
Hi, Julia Vickerman. How are you?
I'm doing so good today.
Good. Me
How about
too.
yourself?
Me too. This is going to be an exciting one. And as soon as this one landed on the calendar, we were both
Very excited.
very excited and very curious to see where we were going.
Confused, thrilled.
We're excited about the guest.
Yes.
And then we're even more excited on top of that about the subject the guest chose.
The guest chose. Today we have joining us in the studio comedian, writer, gorgeous lady, Lizzy Cooperman.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm beyond thrilled. I am so excited to talk about
Well,
the subject at hand.
Whoa.
What are we going to talk about today, Lizzy?
We are discussing the film My Dinner with Andre, directed by Louis Malle.
So, for people who don't know, My Dinner with Andre is a movie from 1981. It's directed, like you said, Louis Malle directed it, and it stars two people,
Yes.
Andre
Gregory and Wallace Shawn.
and Wallace
Yes.
Shawn. And for people who don't know, the movie is literally what it promises it's going to be.
Yes.
You are basically watching a dinner
Yes.
in its entirety.
A thrilling conversation
Yes.
between two intellectual men.
Yes. Two old friends from the theater.
Yes.
Mhm.
Would you say friends? Looking back.
I mean,
Maybe lowercase f.
Lowercase f.
yeah,
friends, yes.
it definitely, yeah, I did like that aspect of it. I'd forgotten that part that he was dreading going to dinner.
Okay, so
with
you
Andre.
had seen it before.
I had seen this film for the first time when I was probably 15, and
Okay.
we were made to watch it in a film class in high school. And it was under the guise of, this is a movie that's about a conversation and has no like flashbacks. That was like what the teacher said. So I always associated it with like an exercise in filmmaking where they don't, it's just them talking about things. They don't cut away and show the things.
Okay, I'm just thinking, can you imagine the flashbacks? Like Andre getting buried alive on Halloween. and then
Yeah.
we threw the teddy, it would be people throwing a teddy bear.
So this movie,
Okay, yes.
you give us the backstory now.
Yeah, because usually when we have people on to talk
Yes,
about things
okay.
from their youth, and it's very often more youth oriented
Right. Yeah.
things. And I love that this. I was like, what on earth? Like, what at what point?
Yeah, they'll usually be like, "Oh, talk about the
Yes.
Power Rangers."
Yeah,
I know. And the thing is, I did enjoy, things that were more popular. Like I loved Madonna and Def Leppard, but I still love them. I've not outgrown them. I'm actually
Sure.
getting really into Def Leppard right now.
Okay.
oh, good.
Have you heard Animals slowed down and played alongside a philharmonic?
No.
It's so good.
That sounds very good.
Yes. So in, I think, fourth grade,
Okay.
I really loved Alice in Wonderland, the made-for-TV movie. There was a made-for-TV movie that had Carol Channing,
Yes.
played the White Queen, and
Okay.
tons of actors were in this. And Sally Struthers, some of you might remember, she played a sunflower.
Sure.
I remember coming home from school and it being taped over
With what?
My Dinner with Andre.
Okay.
Oh my God.
So just where were you growing up? Where was all this happening?
This is a suburb of Minneapolis called New Hope, Minnesota. A cul-de-sac, a couple blocks from a 7-Eleven, and Marcello's Pizza, if anyone's familiar with the area near
Okay.
Marcello's.
How far away? Our last guest on the podcast was also a Minnesota.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Maple Grove.
Okay, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like a 20-minute drive.
Oh, nice.
We easily could have watched this film together. I could have invited them over
Yeah,
for
I
the most
wonder.
exhilarating afternoon of their lives.
So you're growing up in the suburbs. Was it a pretty conventional suburban life?
Outside, I wouldn't describe my home life as conventional. It was turbulent.
Okay.
So I would come home and watch TV and then kind of at night, like go in my room.
Okay.
Anyway, it's like I don't kind of give me a fake. But so anyway, that movie. So I remember watching it with my sister, and I think it was just also the excitement of having a VCR finally, because my family was last to get a microwave, last to get So we had the VCR, and I feel like there was also something to like watching a movie at home.
Yeah.
Because we were just so used to watching TV shows that it's like, we have a movie, we own a movie.
And you have control over it now.
Yes.
You don't, if it's TV, you're just like, oh, I want to go to the kitchen and I'm going to miss something. Or I got to hurry when the commercials are on. But now you can say like, we're going to hit pause. Let's do what we want. You're in control
Let's hear
now.
Andre
for the
go
first
into
time.
detail about this Buddhist monk.
Yeah. Or you're
We
watching
can't miss
Wallace
it.
Shawn take a bite of soup and you're like, oh, well, let me watch that again.
So you were how old at this point?
I think probably 8 or 9.
Okay, so
or
you're
maybe
8.
that's 9 or 10 is
Okay.
4th grade.
So you had taped Alice in Wonderland,
Yes.
Carol Channing,
With Carol
and Sally
Channing.
Struthers.
Yes.
And you watched that a great
It's almost
deal.
like if you're in love with one person and it ends, you just transfer your love onto someone else. I think I did that with from Alice in
Okay.
Wonderland to My Dinner with Andre.
Well, it's interesting because you were not filled with rage that your program
I think
had
at
been taped
first
over?
I was, and then I kind of feel like I accepted that, we only had so many cassettes and I couldn't watch it, Alice in Wonderland forever. Maybe I was upset initially. I kind of don't remember.
No, I'm happy. That's really cool that you just surrendered to the situation.
I surrendered to it, and it became kind of a ritual to watch My Dinner with Andre.
Okay.
Because
With your sister?
no. Do you know what that's the
The
theme?
Dallas theme.
It is. I can't believe you picked up on that.
Suddenly, the Dallas theme played out of nowhere.
That was my
Okay.
mom's favorite TV show.
Oh.
I love it.
So-
Okay, yes.
Who taped over? Who taped over Alice in Wonderland, and why did they tape My Dinner with Andre over it?
I believe I can see my mom wanting to see this movie.
Wait,
So
she never confessed?
I don't think I just was like, my parents did this. There wasn't a ton of communication.
Okay.
No.
Fascinating.
I think I just, I think my mom I remember my mom liked artistic movies like Jean de Florette and stuff like that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Where
I
did
can
she tape it
see
off of? Did it
her.
have commercials?
I think it did have commercials. Yes.
That's wild.
Wait, that's interesting.
Yeah.
that
I
would
kind
be
of
really
don't remember. I don't remember.
That would
Okay.
be interesting to watch this movie be cut up. Where would you even put the commercial breaks?
That is
Yeah.
so, like right as the waiter.
Sure.
Well, then you
Uh-huh.
could put a different restaurant in and be like
Sure.
Chili's new bloomin' onion.
Yeah. Yeah. The new My Dinner with Andre meal.
I wish this happened at Outback Steakhouse.
That
Yeah.
is
That would
so
be really funny.
Wait, yes.
So you come home, gonna watch Alice in Wonderland, and then suddenly you see Wallace Shawn walking down the street down on Canal Street,
Yes.
moping around.
The sexiest 36-year-old
Yeah, that's the other
I've
thing.
ever seen.
Oh,
When he goes,
When he says, I'm 36, I was like, no, you're not.
I'm 36. And he's just
and
like,
all I think about is money.
Money.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm 36 and all I think about is money. And you're suddenly just like, 36. That's
Yeah,
a
it's like-
rough 36.
Yeah, life's not been kind to you.
Yeah.
Oh my
But
gosh.
we're not here to judge.
You're age shaming Wallace
Yeah.
Shawn.
Well, the beauty
Sorry.
of that though is, to be fair, when you look a little older than when you were,
Yeah.
when you're young, you get all of that back. Where people like suddenly he's in his 60s, and people are like, Wallace Shawn looks good. Looks like he hasn't aged a day. It's like Danny DeVito always looked older than when he
Yeah,
was in his
interesting.
30s. But then you look at him now; he never changed
Yes.
for 40 years. So you get it back. It's not just like, oh my God, you're so beautiful and so handsome. And then just
You're
like when
right.
age shows, like Robert Redford, people are like, oh, he looks terrible now. It's only because he was
Yes.
perfect
Oh, God.
looking.
we
Was he
should all-
ever?
We should all strive to look a
I
little
did-
bit worse.
We should all strive to get a little bit of Wallace Shawn in our...
looks he looks the same in Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
He was in
He
Gossip
was in Gossip
Girl?
Girl. Yes, he played Blair Waldorf's stepfather.
Really? Well, now I have to watch Gossip
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah, you're just simply lost.
So you watch this movie. It's you and your sister watching
Me and
this?
my sister watched
Older
it. I have
sister,
3
younger
older
sister?
sisters, but there was one in particular who I remember watching it with. And we eventually started role playing as Wally and Andre.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I know parts of this movie.
Oh.
And I was Wally and she was Andre. Because my sister was an actress when we were young. She was like a local theater star.
Oh, wow.
She was the lead in all the plays at the big theater companies.
Okay.
So she was, kind of a perfect fit for Andre.
Yeah.
Sure.
She identified more with him.
Yes. And I grasped, because I was younger, I think I grasped Wally.
Mm-hmm.
More of a humanist.
Yeah, but also Andre is carrying he's doing a lot of heavy lifting early in the movie because Wally's listening a lot to when he's telling his
A lot of
adventure.
concerned listening, a lot of overacted listening, in my opinion. I like Welsh. I don't know why I'm giving him such a hard time.
That's so funny. I actually, yeah.
This was the first thing we've ever, usually when we come into the show, we're kind of coming in blind to certain things. We just have the other person explain it. But this one we did actually rewatch together.
I feel honored, actually.
Yeah.
And I haven't shared it with many people.
Yeah.
So.
Really? You have not talked about this with any people?
I mean, I've talked about it before, but I haven't had anyone, leap at the chance to sit down and
let's really get
give
into
it a whirl.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to. So because it is a challenging, unique movie. There aren't many movies that are like My Dinner with Andre in terms of, like you said, there are no flashbacks. There's also, it's basically 2 guys sit down and eat, order and eat, and they don't get up until the end of the movie. So it's really, that seems like a very challenging movie for a kid because in the scheme of things, nothing's happening. Based maybe by the way that a kid would define a movie. It's just like, oh, they go here and then they go there and then this happens and that happens. Not a lot happens. It's all verbal. What is it? Talk about that kind of how you did that just make sense to you out of the box?
I think I didn't understand a lot of movies.
Okay.
And I still am not great at reading comprehension. I love to read, but I have to read things several times. I find myself lost oftentimes during movies. So I probably just thought this is par for the course because the first movie I saw was Fantasia, which
From the
doesn't
40s?
really I don't know.
I guess it would have been.
The one with the brooms and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's from the 40s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's the late 40s.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was a late.
I thought it was like 48. I
Well,
thought
now
for
I'm
some
going to
reason.
look that up. I thought it was 48 as well.
But I
for
also
some
think
reason.
I knew this is an adult film and I probably shouldn't get all of it. I think now that we're talking about it, I almost feel like part of the reason I watched it was to be close to my mom and what
Okay.
she liked.
Okay.
Because I think being the youngest, you're trying to figure out how to get into the things that are a little bit more adult as well.
Because you always feel like you feel the burden of being the youngest one in the house.
Yes, of not latching on to things, not understanding things, being the last to be able to, swim. That's personal, actually. I really just felt that. I'm like, so.
But everybody's
Yes.
done it before you. Like everything, oh, you're
Yes.
doing this. We did that already.
We did it. Yes.
that's
And
a bit
so I always
frustrating.
wanted to do the adult things, And I did end up doing all the bad things first. I will say that.
What do you mean by that?
Well, just like smoking and boyfriends and stuff like that.
All the
I'll just
bad
say
stuff.
boyfriends.
Sure. And were you following the lead of your sisters, or were you trying to be your own person?
I was trying to be my own person, and I think I wanted the experience of adult life.
Okay.
But also, I look back at that time, we didn't have, I remember going to my neighbor's house to watch Uncle Buck or Brewster's Millions. That was one I was also loved, Brewster's Millions. So we didn't have a lot of comedy. A lot of people say, oh, I grew up watching Saturday Night Live. I didn't watch those those shows. I grew up in a more serious, it felt a little like there wasn't cool music playing. It was like Musagorski's Night on Bear Mountain.
Okay.
That was the record we had.
Man, you love Fantasia.
Yes.
Also,
Oh, yeah, that is.
That was in Fantasia. It came out in 1940, Fantasia.
40.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow.
So-
I didn't
Wow.
know that.
That was
okay.
an old-ass movie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Was your house was education and intelligence a did that have a high value in your house?
Yes. I feel like it kind of faded out by the time I was born because there were 4 of us. So I was kind of on my own a little bit
Okay.
in that realm. I didn't get good. My sisters got amazing grades and mine started to lag in high school. I had to take a class called Note Taking and Study Skills to get my grades up.
Wow. Wait, what were the
I
ages,
became-
the age gaps between you and your
All
sisters?
2 years apart. So it
Okay.
would be 4th grade, 6th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade
Oh, wow.
at this time. Yeah.
That's a lot.
But I think also My Dinner with Andre, if you look at it from like a younger person's perspective, it's like 2 opposite friends, you know?
Yeah. I mean, they're both theater dudes.
Yes.
They're both disenchanted with
Yeah,
the
I mean,
state of the world.
They both have that. There's a very New York East Coast kind of world weary quality to both of them.
Yeah, because it was
where-
always like the punchline of about My Dinner with Andre was that it was this kind of like pretentious intellectual New York.
Yes. And that's
elitist
why when I
thing.
selected this, I was like, I understand. I kind of spiraled a little bit after I sent it because I thought, I don't want this to sound, there's a lot of implication. I think that it's like pretentious or.
Pretensions.
But I
that
really
was
dug
the-
deep and I thought this is the true, my authentic response.
Well, that's what we were excited about.
Okay,
Because
good.
it's like most, we got people coming in here with like Mortal Kombat and Gem on the Hologram. So it's like My Dinner with Andre is a,
And that's
is a fascinating departure.
Okay.
exactly. That's the kind of thing that makes it unique, is to hear the things that resonated that would be unexpected with a child. But it clearly made sense to you.
Yes.
So you'd watch it. How often would you watch My Dinner with Andre?
I mean, probably once every few weeks, maybe.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I also thought Wally was really funny. I like that he was like, I'm just happy I have my electric blanket. Like, I enjoyed his kind of, I don't know if the word is, it's not persnickety, nebbishy.
Yeah.
Sure.
I liked listening to his voice and I thought he was interesting and I related to him. I mean, as a kid,
You're like, I'm also weary of New York City.
right? And all I think about is money. And there is something relatable about him. And he understands what Andre's saying, but he's also trying to grasp it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I could he was my way into the movie, I think.
Totally.
And even him walking into the restaurant, I love when he's like, can I get a club soda? And they're like, no, but we have
Yeah.
whatever other type of spritzer.
Yeah. So you said earlier you memorized scenes? Or
Yes.
scenes. It is one scene.
That's one long
Pretty
scene.
much.
Yeah.
Yes.
What passages from the film?
Well, funny you should ask because my memorization of My Dinner with Andre led to my downfall with this film. I have a distinct falling out with My Dinner with Andre.
Okay.
Oh, good.
All right. Well, we'll get to the
why
falling out.
Yeah.
That's
This is-
also why. Do you want to get into that now or later?
No. We'll get
Let's-
into
we'll
the
build to the
downfall.
Okay,
falling
because
out.
we
Build
might.
to it.
Well, I can recite some of it for you if you
Please
like.
do.
Yes, I
Okay.
would love this.
I hope I can remember this. It's still in my body. Okay. If I were to go to a Chinese restaurant and get a fortune cookie, I mean, even I would have a tendency. I mean, I read it. And if it says something like, you will have a conversation with a dark-haired man, well, then I just naturally think to myself, who do I know who has dark hair? Did we have a conversation? What did we talk about? I mean, I inherently see it as an omen of the future, but in my conscious opinion, which is so fundamental to my whole view of life, in my conscious opinion, this is something that was written in a Chinese factory years ago and in no way pertains to me. I mean, the person who wrote it didn't know anything about me. He could not have known anything about me. And the fact that I've gotten it is basically a joke. And if I I know more.
Please keep going.
I love this.
And if I were to get on a plane and I got a fortune cookie that said don't go, of course I'd be hesitant to get on the plane. But the state of that flight has to do with the state of the airplane, the state of the pilot, and the cookie is in no position to know about that. I think I flubbed a few words in there, but
No, that was amazing.
That was incredible.
So what did the movie mean to you as a child? Because it's a heady movie where it's two people talking about philosophy, worldview, moral compass, all of these things. And these are big concepts for a kid.
Yeah, did you understand what they were talking about?
not everything. However, it actually wasn't that hard to follow. Just because
Cut to me 2 days ago
if
being
you
like, what
kind
the
of-
fuck are they talking about?
Yeah.
if you break it down, it is interesting because I studied theater in college, and they say in a scene, you either say, I'm okay, you're okay, I'm okay, you're not okay, I'm not okay, you're not okay, you're not okay, or whatever.
So it's one of the
But-
four
Yes.
variants.
So I think this is, I'm okay, you're not okay at first glance. I mean, as you go deeper, things kind of shift a little bit. This is a movie where things almost get more wobbly at the root.
Yeah, I could see that.
But-
I did like how it was like it's not just while Sean agreeing with him the whole time, because initially he just seems like he's kind of like agreeing with everything and just going along with it and being like a pleasant dinner companion. But then it's like when he finally starts like having a different opinion is when I was like, ooh, it's thrilling
Yes,
suddenly.
and it happens like halfway through the film, because I think that Wally goes in with the intention of kind of as an investigator. Like, I'm going to see what's going on. And it's funny to me that there's a rumor. He goes, and I'd heard rumors about Andre. It's like that he talked to a tree or something.
Yeah.
I feel like we know people who probably did that this morning.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like this rumor.
And they'd be like, yeah, and of course I talked to a tree today.
Yeah, because it's like the Andre character, he's left the theater. He was a director and he became, disillusioned with the theater and left. And then he went and was on some soul-seeking trips.
Yeah.
These like exotic kind of mystical things
No, I
happen to him.
relate to that.
To
Yeah.
the seeking part of it?
To the saying, I can't do what I actually feel like I go through this. I have cycles where I say, I can't do this anymore. I need a break. I have to go to Greece. I'll start researching Santorini or something and just thinking I need to kind of reevaluate and have time to process out on my own.
And what helps you is like an exotic location to do that in.
Findhorn.
Yes.
Whereas the Wallace Shawn character is more like not everyone can go to what's the mountain he mentions, climb Mount Everest or something.
Was it Kilimanjaro?
Yes,
Kilimanjaro.
he does say, I can't just go to Mount Everest or
Yeah, whatever it is. He's
Yeah,
he's saying that like
or-
that's not something most people can do. So he's like,
Yes.
so are you saying that people can't
Like
kind of
he's comparing
become
the cigars, going to the
Yes.
cigar shop
Yeah.
next door to like you
Yeah,
can. He's
to
saying you
Mount-
can have a revelation anywhere.
Yeah, you
And
can
that
feel
they're all-
alive and like you're truly living at the
Yes.
cigar store.
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's because basically it's one guy who has the privilege to say I don't have enough.
Yeah.
He has more than most people, and he's still saying I'm seeking something. This is all just crap. Everything. This is all an illusion, and it's there's no value in this. We're all asleep. But he also has and I know the word privilege gets thrown around a lot in things, but he's a very privileged person who, for example, he talks about the doorman that he knows my last name. He knows me as Mr. Gregory, but I know him as Jimmy. And then he's equating that with some version of slavery he's building it up to. But he's certainly
Yes.
not changing
Yeah.
what he still accepts it.
At that part, we kind of gave each other a look because we're just like, well, you could call him by his last name too. You're the one perpetuating this dynamic with this doorman.
So there's one guy who has everything you could want in terms of being a human in New York City and to be comfortable in New York City. And the other guy is much more, he still needs to pay his bills, and he
Yes.
needs some help with the reality of things. But conversely, he's accepting things and feeling very content with the electric
Yes.
blanket is enough for him.
But initially, he
good.
comes in like seeming like he's a bit grumbly and like worried about how am I going to pay
Yes.
my bills, blah blah blah. And then like clearly, Andre is in a better position financially, even because we're coming into this restaurant,
Yes.
and she's like, "Oh, this is a really nice restaurant that Andre chose." And so you immediately assume, well, this guy has like some money.
It's called Café des Artistes.
Yes.
Is this a real restaurant?
I think it was. And I believe it was also mentioned in Gossip Girl. So there's a lot of connections between
I also did find it kind
I
of
watched
funny that he said inconceivable at one point, Wallace Shawn.
Oh, that is so funny.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I was like, was
Now-
this pre or post Princess Bride?
Okay, what's crazy is when I finally saw Princess Bride, which I saw after my dinner with Andre, I was shocked. Like it
To
was
see
like
him?
seeing your parent in a Halloween costume as a baby. I'm like, that's not him. Go back.
Oh,
back.
that's so funny. You were like,
Like,
I don't
thought it was
like seeing
beneath
him.
I thought it was
thought it
beneath.
was beneath him. you thought the Princess Bride was
Yeah.
beneath Wallace Shawn. That's so funny.
So you're watching this movie. Something's clearly resonating with you. Part of it is that it means something to your mother. So you're trying. You're giving this proper attention
Yeah.
because you want to connect with your mom.
Yeah, because I think I always was like, why can't I get into that? You know?
But I like how it's still just a theory that your mom taped this. It's not even a.
I'm almost positive.
Okay.
Yeah. She was probably like, oh, my dinner with Andre is going to be on TV. I've never seen that before.
I'll just tape
Yeah,
it.
and I'll tape it.
And I know what tape I'm going to
I know
use. My daughter's favorite
Yeah.
I think the
tape.
rest, in her defense, I think the rest were like school plays and stuff. And I
Oh.
probably, because it was a commitment to go out and buy a fresh pack of VHS tapes.
Oh yeah,
you
no,
know?
I've taped over so many things that were
Yeah.
important to my family.
Really?
Yes, just out of sheer laziness.
Yeah.
Not wanting
Yeah.
to go to the store. You just tape over our entire Alaska vacation. All those glaciers don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Alaska.
They
Oh
also
my
don't exist on
goodness.
my VHS.
Yeah,
tape.
exactly. But what does exist is some
Probably like the
episodes of
MTV
Sailor
Movie
Moon.
Awards or some
Oh
shit.
my
Yeah.
gosh, that's
Yeah.
so
So, what did your friends think of your interest in My Dinner with Andre?
my little secret.
It was
Oh,
totally.
I don't think I told people about it.
why?
Okay.
Were you?
I don't remember sharing it.
You didn't think other people would understand, or you
no
were
one else was talking
ashamed?
about it.
Sure. So
Like,
your
this
friend group wasn't being like, "Did you see My Dinner with Andre?"
Yeah.
Yet?
Right. Have
Yeah.
you seen my
What was your friend group like at that point? What kind of kids were you
in
hanging out with?
fourth grade?
Or what kind of kid were you in fourth grade?
In fourth grade, let's see, I was in Hebrew school.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being, is that when White Snake was popular? I wonder.
White
I remember
Snake.
listening to this band White Snake. I loved the song "Here I Go Again
Yeah.
on My Own."
It's
I
a great
remember
song.
listening to that on the Hebrew bus.
Sure.
I was pretty loud. I would say loud at school, quiet at home.
Okay.
Kind of
Okay.
like two different.
Why is that?
If I'm to be honest, I had a very volatile dad. He's still alive.
Okay.
And so I think that I was myself until he got home, and then I would go into my room. So at school, I was outgoing, and I always felt like it was an outlet. I got in trouble for talking a lot. I had one teacher who said I had diarrhea of the mouth. Which
to your face?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
yeah.
That's one you'd
Well,
remember
that's-
forever.
Mhm.
Very messy.
Okay.
Very messy.
Um,
That I'm still working on.
Do you think if you had a volatile father, family life unpredictable? Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe My Dinner with Andre, slow and quiet, offered some comfort.
Yeah, I actually can see that. I mean, it's almost like if you were to own a fish tank or something.
Mhm.
It
No, I
kind of-
understand that.
It's like, I don't really know why. I mean, I can now looking back see, talking about it, that maybe Wally was the way in, and that I thought he was kind of funny, and that I could watch it and play this out with my sister, and it would make people laugh, you know?
What part did she memorize of Andre's?
She was more improvisational. So the part that I memorized of Wally at that time was the electric blanket cockroach part.
Mhm.
And that was kind of a loose interpretation. The reason I know the monologue is related to the downfall.
Okay.
Okay. I think it might be time.
Okay.
Well, so you're watching this movie every few weeks. You're watching this movie, and are you watching it with your sister, with your mom?
Sometimes alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just the Andre time.
It was like, I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going to watch a movie at home.
Yeah.
So that was just the big thing. It was like, it could have been any movie.
I think honestly, like, I don't know. I
Okay.
really, it's,
So you were just like, what should
I'm
it
trying to
be?
think of, I don't think we had
Brewster's
anything
Millions
else.
or
Yeah.
My Dinner with Andre?
Brewster's Millions is so good.
Mhm.
I've gone back and watched that a few times.
I have not seen that film.
Really?
Richard Pryor and John Candy,
Okay.
where he needs to spend all the
Yeah,
money.
the opening scene is his grandfather going, Brewster. This old grandfather shows up. And he's like, I left you a fortune. And he's like, you have to spend this much money in 30 days with no assets in order to get the bigger inheritance, which is like millions.
Okay. Well, that's a fun
And then
concept.
he kind of has a relationship with his accountant who's like, you're spending too much money. And he's not allowed to tell anyone why.
Was it John Candy, right?
Yeah,
who's
John Candy.
playing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a catcher
Yeah.
or something. He
And
plays
he'd buy
a
like all the
catcher.
hot dogs at the baseball stadium and
Yes.
things like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I'm hungry right now.
So you're watching the movie. How many times do you think you've seen this movie throughout the course of your life?
30 or 40, maybe.
Damn.
Okay.
Maybe I'm overspinning. I really,
No, I believe you.
I feel like my memory too is a little
Well, it's
spotty
clearly
around
very
it. 'Cause
good.
it's-
You memorized the whole fortune cookie
Yeah.
monologue.
Yes. That came later.
I just, I
Yeah.
know we will talk about the
Okay,
downfall,
yes.
but like, so did you really were like fascinated by watching these two men talk about being human and philosophy?
Yes.
Like
I
you really
liked
were.
the idea of what is comfort. And also, I think when I was young, thinking, well, which life would I rather have? Who would I
Right.
rather
Interesting,
be?
yeah.
Because I do think that in every relationship, there is a Wally and an Andre,
Mhm.
just on a spectrum.
I feel like I got a little. I'm like half Andre, half Wallace. Like I do like simple things, like a little cup of coffee. But he says he likes a cold cup of coffee,
That he left out.
which is a little weird.
Yeah.
Didn't really unpack that one.
Hoping there's no
We're
coke.
all drinking iced coffee now. We all
Hoping
have
there's
one.
This
no-
is barely coffee. This is mostly sugar water.
Just hoping that there's no cockroach in it
Yeah.
when he wakes up.
Yeah.
I know. Well, standing liquids attract cockroaches.
They do.
Yes.
Okay.
I never leave a glass of water out overnight.
Really?
Okay.
Wait, well, how do you drink water out of bed? I mean, in
Dripping
bed.
water, I don't.
Just a dry
care of that
mouth bed
beforehand.
experience. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
Do one of those cat water things that just like a little waterfall.
I love that.
Well, yeah.
I
So
should
the cats.
Wait, so you were when you were 8, you were at fourth grade. We were talking about so like 8 or
Yes.
9. So it's like you were wrapping your head around these
Yeah, I think-
concepts at that
yeah.
time. Like what is comfort?
Mhm. Yeah.
That's interesting.
And why? I mean, I think I just liked the dynamic of like, it's almost like the odd couple. I probably saw it in those terms of these guys are opposite.
Sure.
yeah. Were you ever annoyed by Andre?
There was a point where I wondered if he was lying.
Okay.
Which parts?
Maybe 20 minutes when he talks about being buried alive and
Yeah, being like, and then I saw a minotaur and there were flowers growing out of its eyes and how much of this but I guess when you talk about the past, just like I'm talking about my experience, I'm filling in the blanks.
But also, he might have been leaving out the part where he like took ayahuasca.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
that's a huge part of it. It felt like, because it's a very tame movie in a certain way, there's no swearing in it. It's
Yeah.
a pretty
Yes.
modest movie in that regard. Like they're not,
A children's film.
yes, well, for one child at least.
I
One very
think about
special child.
one part of the movie that I remember, by the way, when the part of the monologue where he goes, but in my conscious opinion, which is so fundamental to my whole view of life, that phrase is so enjoyable to say. I'm just urging anyone listening or watching, say that out loud.
Okay.
In my conscious opinion, which is so fundamental to my whole view of life.
That's such a
feels
strange
good.
line.
Yeah.
It feels really good to say. But the part of in the movie where they talk about relationships and going outside the relationship.
Oh, Andre has cheated on Chiquita.
Chiquita.
Yes. The way he says that, because even like Wallace Shawn does a kind of like tiny mini like reaction where I'm like, oh, he knows that he's like fucked around on his wife. Because you wouldn't say that unless you had done it from personal experience. He talks about it as if he's done it, don't you think?
I agree with that. I'd like to talk to you before we hear about the downfall about some of the small moments in the movie, like the way Andre says improvisation, which like he says improvisation, not improvisation. He says like it drives me nuts.
Improvisation.
Tom did fall asleep about 5 times during
in the home stretch. I did in the home stretch.
It does go on.
No, it's very hypnotic. It's just hypnotic.
His voice is hypnotic.
You know what? It is like that. It's like those tapes they play for dogs. That's what it's like. I've had it on in the background before as I'm cleaning my room.
So another thing that was driving me nuts was the basket of bread that was untouched. Because I would just be like, I'd be all over that.
You were
basket
focusing
of
on
bread.
that bread so
because
hard.
the quail is so small.
Yeah, wouldn't you
It's
be
not.
eating?
It was a large plate of
up
food,
on that bread?
and he was like,
Yes.
"It's so small." He orders quail, or is it pheasant or
Quail.
quail?
Well, first he goes, "What's this?" That's where you can also see the class disparity.
Right.
And he goes, "What's this?" That's potato soup.
Yeah, because it's a French restaurant,
Yes.
and the menu is in French,
Yes.
and Wallace is a little out of his depth
Yes.
with that, and Andre is at home ordering from a menu in French.
Right.
So, because he'll always be like, "I'll have that too." Like
he's like, "Yeah, I'll have whatever
like,
he's
exactly,
having."
just like which I know I've been in that position when I'm not sure in a restaurant what to get. If it's if I'm like out of my element, you just follow with the other person saying a little bit like, "Oh, give me that also. Make that 2 of those." Like, and I don't even know what I just ordered.
Right.
And I also didn't like the way he ate rice at the one part.
Was that rice? I thought that was.
I thought he had like a side of because he ate half of it off the fork.
You're
at
right.
once.
He had a forkful, and he eats half of it off the fork. It's
and I was like,
gross.
that's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Is somebody taking a fork and eating just the front half of it and then letting it go back on the plate.
Maybe he knew he had a line coming up.
I don't know
He's like,
what he
I can't
Yeah.
have my mouth full for what I'm about to say.
When that happened, I said, I'm rooting for Andre now.
Yeah, watching him eat was a trying experience.
It is interesting to think. So they taped their own conversations. That's how they wrote this script.
No, this is really how they talk as men.
So yeah, just what do you know about the how this came together? Because it is a almost 2 hours of 2 guys just talking, and they are the writers of the movie. They are credited as the writers, and so you said they were recording themselves
for
doing
a
monologues?
few months.
Okay.
They recorded themselves, I think, twice a week.
Okay,
They would just have conversations on tape, and then they
They were like, we gotta share this with the world.
Yeah. It is funny because you think about sometimes with friends, like, if only people could hear what we're talking about.
yeah, and then they're just like, we're gonna make a movie of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Initially, I was like, oh, this must have been a play at first, but it was not. I did look it up.
Oh, interesting.
Also, originally the script was 3 hours long. The director helped them cut an hour out of it.
Wow.
There's a point in it where you're just like, I hope they don't order dessert. Because you're just like, this is gonna be 45 minutes. Just like when he's like, I'll also have an amaretto, and you're just like, okay, fine, get your amaretto also.
That is interesting because that's like a real dinner.
Yeah,
It really gives you the feeling of like, oh, they're ordering more. Like in your mind, you're trying to get out of a place.
Yeah.
The plot it's gradual, you know, and with undertones of fascism that also come to a head when Andre says, doesn't he compare himself to Hitler's architect or something.
He brings
like
up Hitler
Yeah.
twice in the movie.
And I'll
doesn't
say,
he?
I really could see like an SS officer enjoying The Little Prince.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
the fuck? Also, when he said, what did he say about The Little Prince, the children's book? He said it was grotesque or something. He used like a word
yes.
like that, like disgusting or grotesque, like the banality of it or something like that. And I
Yeah.
was just like, fuck you.
Yeah, no, there just
I
is
like
that.
The Little Prince. But
No.
then he like
I do too.
did a play of The Little Prince. Weren't we to understand that he did that?
I'm not.
Yes, or something that was like an interpretation
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I very much enjoyed this film when I was a teenager because I think I myself took myself very seriously at a young age and like fancied myself to be a bit of an intellectual. I was not.
I love that you watched it then.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And now I watch it now and I was just like, fuck this guy.
Really?
I think just because like you know what it was? My turn was when he said the thing about the electric blanket. Because Wallace Shawn is saying how much he enjoys his electric blanket. And then this guy's like, oh, you couldn't pay me to have an electric blanket or some shit. Because he's just like,
Yeah.
oh, that's too much comfort.
Yeah.
And like, you need to know, like, living life is feeling discomfort. And I was like, okay, says the fucking guy who invites this dude to like a bougie restaurant.
Right.
And like, it
And
has
lives
money.
lives in a doorman.
Has
apartment.
lives in an
Yes.
apartment with a doorman.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he's such a hypocrite. Like I was like, oh yeah, you don't like comfort, and you're always
Yeah.
he's like I don't know. He just feels like a tourist. Like he's romanticizing discomfort and like poverty or
Well, that's the whole thing of just like it is like being a tourist. And,
Yeah.
and I mean the whole concept of recognizing your privilege. It just that's not as much of a 1981 type concept. But when you watch the movie now, you're just like, this guy he is not in touch with how much privilege he has.
But I thought they were doing that purposefully. I thought that was the creative decision behind putting the movie in this bougie restaurant and having him talk about that. I thought that was
Right.
purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought we were supposed to, and I
Yes.
thought they were probably aware of that.
But thinking about what is it that Andre wants, because he's feeling an emptiness.
Yeah,
or
he's
a
like sad
guilt.
little rich boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, he's always going to be unsatisfied.
Yeah.
He's always going to be searching.
Well, because
and
it's like you
seeking.
can't. It's anything out there is never going to fill the void. It's like that's everything to fill the void is already in here.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting.
And then for Wallace,
He just wants that cold
like
coffee.
a cold cup of coffee and an electric blanket,
Mm-hmm.
or he gets true satisfaction out of that. And that's why my favorite part of the movie is when he finally pushes back against the hurricane of talking that Andre does, and he finally says, "Do you know what I think is like when he says how he really feels about it?" Because I guess you could also say there's probably some version that Wallace is going into this thinking like, I could get something out of this dinner professionally.
Oh yeah, you think so?
I think so, just because
that's
I think because
interesting.
he's really struggling, and I think he's accepting and acquiescing to to this guy just talk, and then finally, I think he has had enough and just says, "I'm going to say how I actually feel about things," and not just because for the first half hour, he's basically just saying, "And then what happened?"
I
then
know,
what
and every
happened?
time
No,
he
I'm
said, "And
interested
then
in
what
this."
happened?"
Yeah.
I was like,
And at that point, he's like, okay, so that's not going to happen.
Finally, he's
There's
like,
no deal.
I think he finally realizes his worldview is as valid as Andre's worldview.
Yes.
And he is not afraid to express it to him. And if it makes him sound like he's a simpleton
Yes.
or whatever, then so be it. I don't care. And that's why when he pushes back the idea of going to scaling a mountain versus just going into the cigar shop,
Yes.
he's just owning his place in the world and unapologetically.
"That's
I
interesting."
love when he says it would blow your mind. What's
Yeah.
going on in that cigar shop next door would blow your mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you thought that his consistently going like, "And then what happened? Tell me more about that." You thought that was like him manipulating?
No,
the
I just
situation?
think he was deferring. He was being overly deferential because I do think because the movie starts off with him talking about how he's struggling to pay the bills. How am I going to pay these bills? And then this guy who he says he doesn't like
Yeah,
and has been avoiding this dinner
for years.
for a very long time.
Right.
He's going to do it for a reason. And it just seems like it was basically there's some sort of practicality to why he's going on this dinner with this guy.
I think it's almost, there's a thing where it's almost like measuring someone. How miserable is this person? Trying to figure that out as well. And am I going to become miserable? What is his misery versus my misery?
When you were a kid, were you a little bit more like, did you appreciate the simple things? An electric blanket in Minnesota?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what were your
100%.
takeaways from the thing? So electric, like something like that was appealing. Do you like simple things?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I remembered like I had a lot of imagery that stuck with me from the movie. The cockroach, the electric blanket. I remember the creature with the flowers growing out of the eyes, throwing the teddy bear.
Yeah.
There are certain things to latch onto, and it's almost like being someone reading you a story in a sense. Yeah.
Did you?
Yes.
When you were younger, did you enjoy, or maybe now, do you enjoy when people tell you about their dreams? Or do you think it's boring as crap?
I feel like I can interpret them like that. If I know the person, I'm just like, this is another one about how your mother didn't.
Tom does that too. He's like, well, that was about this and this was about that.
Yeah.
But you don't dream, which is fascinating. You do dream, but you don't remember them.
All my dreams have come true.
Oh boy.
No,
now, there is a theory, by the way, that the waiter is us.
Okay.
The waiter who's constantly just like,
Yeah, that guy is just like,
God, these guys. Yeah.
Well, he is watching it, and he notices the difference between them when they're ordering.
He's judging Wally.
And he almost provides act breaks in a way.
well, because the waiter also is not some snooty French guy who's coming over and doing the thing. He's clearly a New Yorker who works at a French restaurant.
Right. Like he can't wait to take this tuxedo off.
He's just like he seems like a New Yorker, not just somebody who moved to New York. Like it's just, that's what that felt like to me. So you're watching this movie every few weeks.
Secretly.
There's a secretly.
I mean, it wasn't like
Public
I can never let anyone know I've been watching.
Public Lizzy is loud and has diarrhea of the mouth. Not that I'm
Public
saying that the
Lizzy's
words
loud.
of your, but private Lizzy is watching this movie in solitude. You're talking about it with your sister. You're memorizing scenes from it. Now tell us about what you referred to as the downfall.
In the year 2007.
Whoa. It's much later.
Much later, I moved to Los Angeles. I had a manager who, I had just done, the New Faces just for laughs. This manager was like, there's an agent who wants to meet with you, and she wants you to come in prepared with a monologue. And I was living with a boyfriend at the time who was an actor, and he was like, I was like, should I do this monologue? Like at the time, I feel like the popular monologues were like Christopher Durang, a tuna fish monologue that everyone did. Or there was one from When Harry Met Sally.
Wait, what's the tuna fish monologue?
It's something like I go into the grocery store and I say, give me the goddamn tuna fish. Like it's just like a perfect comedic monologue.
Okay.
I'm not very familiar with it. I just remember in college people being like, I'm doing the tuna fish monologue for my comedic. And then there was one from When Harry Met Sally where she's talking about her divorce and saying she didn't realize she wanted a kid because she was taking care of someone else's kid who said, I spy a family or something. So it was like usually those two. Anyway, so my boyfriend, I thought, should I try to learn one of these monologues? And he goes, why don't you just do a monologue from the thing you really love, which is My Dinner with Andre? So I said, you know what? Maybe I will do that. I bet I can find a way to make this work. I learned this monologue. I went into, and this was like, I can't remember which agency. It was one of the big ones on Avenue of the Stars. Parking ramp, walking in, trying to make a good impression, do the general meeting with this woman. I remember she had dark hair like this and glasses. And she's like, okay. Do you want to get up and show me the monologue that you've prepared? I was like, yes, I will be playing the role of Wallace Shawn from My Dinner with Andre. Her face changed. She seemed angry, like I was wasting her time.
What?
And then she goes, can I ask you a question? Why did you choose that? I said, I really love the movie and I connect with this character. And she's like, okay.
Wait, this is before you did the monologue or after? Terrible.
Okay. Was it an incredible performance? I don't know.
I mean,
Well,
I
based
think
on
it
what we
was.
just saw earlier, I'd say yes, it
Yeah.
was.
Oh,
I mean-
what a cranky bitch.
So she did not assign me. And it wasn't that I had a falling out with the movie actually, but it was just kind of a thing where I thought I need to stop holding on to this in a way.
Okay.
I was able to kind of let it go.
It no longer serves you.
Yes, my German
Because
author
it
no
had
longer
remained-
serves me.
So it had remained a part of your world throughout. Like it
Yes.
was always something that you identified.
Right.
As
Like
like
if I
this
was
is one of
dating
my-
someone and they hadn't seen it, I go, please, we have to watch my Dinner with Andre.
Oh, it's
I
so
need to
romantic.
know.
So
Yeah.
I'm also like, I want to know which character they relate to. And
would it be like a litmus test kind of thing? If they didn't like it, would you then leave them?
no, but I think that
This is
I would
dumb.
maybe lose a little respect.
Like if some guy's like, this is boring.
This is boring.
This is
Yeah.
stupid.
This is
Let's watch Con Air.
Let's
And then
watch
you're
Con
like-
Air.
You're like, oh boy.
But I do think there was something about it, honestly, when I was young, that it was like watching a full, like the opportunity, the VCR was a big part of it, of being able to watch a movie at
Mhm.
home and going, I own a movie. Everyone's owned movies forever. Finally, I own one.
I love that. I love that you also didn't pick it out. Like you didn't tape it.
Yeah, it came to me.
Mhm.
That's
Sometimes
amazing.
It found you.
Yeah.
It chooses you.
Yeah.
Mhm. Did New
Who
York
rescued who?
Did New York City have any? What did that represent to
Oh.
you as seeing this as a kid in Minnesota?
The unattainable.
Okay.
Just like something I couldn't reach. I'd probably never be there. I could only dream of going to this restaurant and having this kind of conversation as an adult. Like this is the dream.
Mm-hmm.
Because I already was, doing school plays and stuff like that. And I thought, wow, so this is where it could lead. It could go here. And like this guy is a playwright. I know what that is.
Mhm.
I've been in plays.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and I have to say, I also love the music scored by Eric Satie.
Mhm.
I think about that with the end when he's driving home.
Boom, 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 boom,
Yes.
boom, boom, boom. We can't
Oh, you have
pay. We
very
can't pay
good
for
tone.
this.
You've got very good tone.
Oh, thank you.
Tom's a very good singer.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I'm a great singer.
That was really on.
I'm actually
on
better than
key.
very good. I'm great. So New York City was this like seemed like just a fantasy land.
Yes.
That
Like
grimy
a cool
subway,
place to be.
Yeah. All
Yes.
all tagged up. You were like, "Oh, I'll never get there." It's so
I-
beautiful.
in a way, I mean, because there is a certain romantic aspect to the film. Because when he's driving home, he's saying, or when he's taking a cab home, suddenly all these buildings look different to me, and he has a sense of connectivity that he didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Heading in, he was stressed out, and he's leaving. I think he has gratitude for his life and his perspective, and an appreciation that because he has a need to survive, is tethered to his reality,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to being flung out in outer space. It's kind of interesting when you're talking about how he has all this money and he's bored. And there's a thing, I studied 5 levels of Kabbalah during the pandemic.
Oh,
And there's something called bread of shame, which is like if you're given too much too soon and you're not ready for it, that it can kind of work backward and create an emptiness.
do you
And
think
so-
that's what that untouched bread was
Yeah,
about
that's what
on
I
a
was
table?
thinking when he's like
Wow, that was the bread of
The
shame.
bread of shame.
bread of shame sitting there on the table.
Yeah, it's too much, too soon.
You put me at the table with those guys. That bread will not be untouched.
But it's like you'll break. Like if you haven't grown in order to absorb
Mm-hmm.
the light, you kind of crack. And that's why a lot of people, when they become successful, get into drugs. And it's like they can't handle the amount of energy coming toward them. So they have to find a way to handle that.
Mhm.
And I think can be that way with financially.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mhm.
Wait, what? Tell me more about the Kabbalah stuff that you studied.
So basically in Kabbalah, the idea is that we are all vessels and our purpose here on life is to receive light, to expand who we are, to receive more light. So to evolve so that we can receive the light of the creator.
Oh, I like
Yes.
that.
Yes. It's a lot to do with not being reactive. There's a lot to do with that. And that if certain things come up in your life, this has been helpful. You pause and say, what a pleasure, even if it's something that's upsetting to you.
What's
Good. Now I have this information.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
Instead of firing off an email or, I don't think that's in the Zohar. Don't fire off an email.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah, I love it.
What do you feel like throughout your life you learned from this movie, and how did this movie inform your worldview or your view of art, or what impact did My Dinner with Andre have on you?
I think that it taught me that I could insert myself into something that maybe didn't come naturally to me, or that what didn't feel like the status quo. I don't know why I'm thinking about this now, but I was just talking to someone yesterday about how I am fine with going to a party where I don't know anybody. And it doesn't have to be familiar or something, that it doesn't have to be a movie that I feel like I'm doing a terrible job.
No,
of
you're
No,
not.
this is great.
But to get out of context, and even if you don't understand it fully, you're still it seeps into you.
Yeah.
I really do think that. I think that happens too with, if you live in a neighborhood, it starts to seep into you. I had a year where I lived near the Grove. I became a shopping mall.
Wow.
So I am grateful that My Dinner with Andre seeped into me.
Yeah.
Sure.
It seems like it informed a lot of
Yes.
you becoming a very unique spirit.
That's so kind.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
interestingly, to me, it's like when you perform this movie that informs so much of your life, it's a measured movie. It's a very precise movie. And then when you perform, it's like a bomb going off. It's like completely different energy. Like, it's interesting to see. You learn lessons from it, but when you do something, it's a thrilling kinetic experience when you're performing. It's like the opposite of My Dinner with Andre.
Yes.
It's like an explosion of energy, and it's an explosion of ideas and emotion and anguish and rage and what's unfair, and all of that happens. This movie does it in a way that's so, like I said, measured and exacting. But when you do it, it's just like...
And it's a very calming film. And your comedy is very not calming
Right.
in the best way.
Yes.
Chaotic and amazing.
So
like
nice, you
you're
guys.
really like one of the funniest people ever.
Oh my goodness.
Seriously.
Yeah, like I
Thank
like
you so much.
yeah, you're like stand up like with your the stuff you do on the keyboard and
Thank
so it's
you.
like the hardest I've ever
I
laughed
could
at a
not.
comedy
The
show.
first
You
time I
guys.
saw you set that keyboard up, and then it's just like, okay.
Yeah,
And
like
then
you think you
suddenly-
know where it's going,
Yeah,
and then
and suddenly
suddenly
it's
it's like,
like,
whoa,
no.
this is amazing.
It might as well have just been an oil drum that you're hitting with a mallet. It's like
That might be easier to travel with, honestly.
yeah. But it is funny because the keyboard implies,
Right.
for people who don't know, I'm not going to spoil it.
No, please.
Lizzie
spoil.
goes up, sets a keyboard up, and then you're using the keyboard as just like something to pretty much you're just pounding it and punching it for like emphasis for all of these
Yeah.
things as you're ranting and getting it all out. It's just such a, like, it's the opposite of what you think the keyboard is going to get used for. When you see a keyboard set up, everybody thinks it's going to be like, you're going to tell like that kind of like
Right.
what you're used to seeing people use a keyboard for in comedy.
Like flourishes or
Exactly.
something.
No, but you're like using it as a weapon.
Wow. That's interesting. When you're describing this, I'm wondering, is the keyboard my electric blanket?
The keyboard might be your electric blanket. No, it's
I should bring one out.
no, it's really fascinating to see, and you're.
Oh my
I
goodness,
just
you guys.
couldn't agree more with what Julia said.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Mhm.
That means
I'm
the
like a
world to
little bit
me.
mad at this woman who drove you away from My Dinner with Andre, maybe before you were ready
know.
to be driven away from it.
Maybe I didn't perform well also in the moment. But I wasn't what she wanted me to be.
Well, it sounds like she, as soon as you said what it was, she was already like, yeah.
Yeah.
When you do that, it's already like
I remember
you're not going to win
the
that
cocking
person
of
over.
the neck.
You will not win that person over.
Right.
What would you think about Lizzy Cooperman in My Dinner with Andrea? A
Oh.
reboot.
I mean, I'm not going to kick it out of bed.
No, you play both parts. You just run to the other side of the table.
That's the
for the
thing is
whole
we
show.
are all both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of what the percentage is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And given the circumstance. And some people bring out your Andre and some people bring out your Wally.
It's true. Have you ever had like a friend or dated someone who really did not like this movie?
Not that I can remember.
They
No.
would never say it.
I think they
around
might know.
you.
I had
Just
people
like-
who put it off. Like, can we watch that another night? That.
Sure.
Can't imagine.
Yeah. No, it requires a certain amount of focus
Yes.
and attentiveness. You can't, because honestly, you will fade like I did, because it was the end of a long day and I was just suddenly like, it was so meditative that I just started to just like get into like a state watching it.
Yeah, I mean, you do fall asleep a lot. It's not like it's unique to.
Oh, every
Oh my
day
God. I
do.
wish I could.
Once a night I do. It's kind of a
Hopefully.
constant occurrence.
No,
with
I
me.
mean during watching.
Sure. No,
things.
yeah.
But the part about relationships where he says, but being out at sea with the same person, I love that. He goes, that's the real mystery. And that's what you guys just.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like that part as well.
So, Lizzy, what are you up
Yes.
to, and what's going on for the rest of 2024,
Oh, my
and what's going to be
goodness.
2025?
Okay. End of the month, at the end of the month, I'm going to Tulsa, November 30th. If anyone wants to come see me at the Lowdown, then I'll be at the Knack Theater in Dallas, December 3rd.
Okay.
December 5th, I'll be at the Velveeta Room in Austin.
Oh,
and then
Hungry.
and then on the 7th, the Blind Tiger in San Antonio.
Wow. The Lone Star State doesn't know what it is in for.
I'm a little nervous about that.
So now's the
No,
great
it'll be
time to
fun.
go to Texas.
Please, yes, please come to the shows.
No, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be
Thank you.
amazing.
I'm so excited.
I wanted to ask what took My Dinner with Andre's place in your heart then once you moved on?
I don't know that I found that yet. Sex in the City.
Ooh.
I actually did just watch all of it.
The whole series?
Yeah, I realized I had only seen episodes, and I thought I'm going to sit down and really. And you had a guest who was on
James
Sex and the City.
Urbaniak.
Yes,
Yeah.
James
he was
Urbaniak.
so
Foot
funny,
fetishist.
so good.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. And I worked with SJP for a
Really?
year on the show Divorce.
Oh,
Yeah.
I loved that show.
Yeah, I wrote on that for the first season, so I logged some miles with SJP.
But that has a little bit of an Andre energy with the kid is a cool, cold.
Yes, that's the New York part of it. I think it's
right.
very just people with a certain amount of privilege who are just living their lives, and they feel that their lives are important.
Right.
But there's some shame bread going on there, maybe?
Yes, there might be
Bread
a
of
little
shame,
bread of
bread of
shame.
I like shame bread is
Shame
really
bread.
great.
Yeah, what do you give it?
Bread
I'll
of
get the,
shame.
I'll get the
I'm gonna look into
tuna.
that.
Can I get it on the
It's like how
shame
kids
bread?
who are spoiled become lost later in life. And that does happen where you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know where this guy gets his money. He just
Yeah.
sits at
Yeah.
home and he's miserable.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bread of shame situation.
Yeah. All I can think about is the bread part of bread of shame.
I know.
Just like
The bun, the soft
Yes.
bun of the fish fillet.
yes, the
Yeah.
McDonald's fillet of fish put on the bread of shame, the bun of shame.
The bun of shame.
Well, this was amazing.
Yeah.
Liz, this was so much fun
Yeah,
and
It's been
so interesting.
thrilling for me.
Oh, good.
Now, we are excited that you decided to share this thing that is kind of a private part of you with everybody now, and this is amazing, and this is exactly why we like doing this show.
I never dreamed that I would be able to talk about this, so thank you.
Oh, happy to give you a platform to discuss.
Yeah. And everybody can check you out. Where
Yes.
should they find out your business?
LizzyCooperman.com. I do have a new podcast that I'm in the stages of planning right now.
Okay.
So stay tuned for that.
Okay.
Wonderful.
And yeah, LizzyCooperman.com. And I'm also still doing tarot readings. I did your tarot.
You did a tarot reading on the best show for
on
me.
the best show. I have
Yes.
a very homemade website for that. It's tarotrx.com.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you
this.
so much for having me.
We will be back soon with another episode of Outgrown.
Well, we sure will.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.